Any apologies to you guys. Apparently I lost a connection, so it happens.
Well, I let everybody know over there and put the link in there. Looks like some folks got it.
Great. And then, of course, I was trying to fix it, and I'm not terribly tech savvy, so it takes me a while to get it sometimes.
I
I know
wonder.
I was gonna do something with this clay, but I forget what. So I'll patch this right now. I saw a hole.
Now you are talking like a bad Japanese movie.
Am I a little behind and lagging?
Lips and words do not match. Say Godzilla!
Godzilla! Godzilla! Oh no, Godzilla! All right, so I was doing the pads of the ear. That's what I was doing. I have this piece. I'll cut it into two. Now I can make a little roll and put it right here. But you know what? I think that's big for Bigfoot, so I'm going to use just 1/2 because I want these to be small ears.
He
Let's
looks
see
like
how now.
the Goonies.
A little bit like Sloth from Goonies. I can see
Yeah.
that. That does not offend me. So now I got to head over to this ear. Use my wire loop tool. Get the hook set in to the ear. And then I will set in the Y. Y comes down here. Middle piece. Another bit on the Y. Ear hole at the end of the Y. Pull that sucker out. Pulled this out. This is the flap. Put it on, pinch it. And it kind of looks like it should cover the hole if you had muscle control of it, but we don't. And that's this little nub right here in the ear. So now I got to brush out all this to make it look kind of smooth. Ears are tough. I mean, they're not simple things to do. They have a certain order, and we see so many all the time, every day, that we know what ears look like. So if they are wrong, they scream at us. Say, this ear's wrong. You know, this sculpt sucks. So that's something we kind of have to get right as a sculptor in order for it to be believable. So here. All right. So hopefully in YouTube I'll be able to join these two videos up so that they kind of become one video. Maybe I can't, but we'll see. So here's my piece for the pad. I'll put it right here. Mash it down with my thumb. Blend it into the ear this way. I don't want to blend this side because I want this side to be that little dangly bit that we got right there. But it does have to blend into the ear this way. And once again, a wet brush does wonders. And I just take a little nip out of it with this, just a little nip. And that dent, that divot, implies that it's fatty tissue and that it, muscles wouldn't have a dip in it like that. Same thing on this side, just a little dip from these little wire loop tools. Muscles are taut and smooth, and they don't have those little lumpy bumps. Okay, so let's get back on this face. I get that his mouth is open, but I don't really read roaring yet. So I have to do a little bit more work to make this read as roaring. Okay, and I just made that face, and I saw something. I think I need to push a lot of this structure up and make it really feel like it's kind of compressed. by how much he is opening his mouth. When our mouths open, on almost every creature, the bottom jaw moves. Never does the top jaw move. It's always the bottom jaw that does the opening and closing. When I was alligator wrestling, that was very important to me, keeping my fingers. You have to hold the mouth closed by holding the bottom to the top. They don't open up like this. It's always the bottom that moves because the top is attached to the skull. You get a lot more strength that way.
Question.
So,
Was
yes.
this before or after the wife?
This was before the wife.
Aha, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the wife would take kindly to me starting alligator wrestling now.
Yeah.
But she's very supportive, so she might let me if I asked her. And I did enjoy it. It was working with nature, and I was outside a lot. That was nice. But yeah, there were 700-pound reptiles trying to bite me, which was not the best part of the job.
Did you ever stick your head in its mouth?
No, that's silly. I did, when their mouth is open, you run your hand through it, but you don't stick your head in their mouth because their mouths are designed to close very hard.
Yeah.
You can't hold their mouth closed while your head is in there. So, all right, I feel that's better, because it's a little more scrunched up. I need to flare out the sides of the mouth a little bit. So I just think that this would be a little wider.
What is the understructure?
Underneath here is a plaster head cast of me.
Ah.
So I started with a rather large head to begin with.
Just going to be a good size mask.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we don't want Bigfoot to be tiny. That's kind of doing it wrong if we make Bigfoot on the small side. And I put a couple stress lines right here. There's gonna be some stress there. I'm gonna reinforce that. I'm gonna add another one right there because that'll happen. Reinforce that. Add another one right there. I don't want to take this down so far that it hits the jawbone because, your jawbone should not wrinkle if you're healthy. And now I can water it up a little bit to make those look a little more natural. And the other side.
You're wet.
Wrinkles are tough. A lot of people have a real hard time with wrinkles. A scratch in the skin is not a wrinkle. You really have to get it in there and then make it feel at home, make it sit, make it work. It has to tell the story of I am a piece of fat and I am being displaced because of, and all that information has to be there for the viewer, or else those wrinkles don't make sense. And you've wasted your time while you were sculpting. Now, once I get teeth in here, that'll really help him out quite a bit. But I'm going to do some more, just little deposits up here. Little pieces, pinch it in half, and I'll do half on this side and half over here. Half on this side and half over here. And they're not going to be exactly the same. They're going to be, a little bit different because, a lot of people can raise their eyebrow up like this, but I can only do one. So the muscles in my face are attuned a little differently than the muscles in someone else's face. And I'm just laying these pieces in here close, but I'm not worried about them being perfect because each side of the face is going to have a different muscle tone. And now I'm getting down to like smaller pieces, the less. When you first start a sculpt, it's like you're framing a house. all this great work gets done in a very short amount of time. And then, you know, you look at the outside of the house, there's a concrete pad, and the next day, all these walls are up. You're like, wow, they're really pumping on that house. They're doing great and making it fast. But then, you know, day 7 to day 8, you don't see anything because the guys in there did wiring. And, you know, that takes a while. And that's kind of what's happening right now. Little changes that affect the sculpt. You don't want a house without wiring, but also, you know, it's not as glamorous as putting on cheekbones. It's all these little bits in here that I'm doing. Not that I think that cheekbones are glamorous, but, you know, you get the idea.
Well, depends on the person.
I suppose so. And now you can see that I'm brushing in these, and they're looking a little more natural and less just placed on.
Kate wanted to know if you put the eye forms in yet. It doesn't look like you did yet.
I have not yet, but I will. I have to make sure that I have good eye forms, and I also have to make sure that when I put them in, I put them in with the right amount of eyelid. You know, too much eyelid, and you're a sleepy Garfield, you know? He's that perfect round dot with that line right through the center. That's a Garfield eye. You don't want that. You gotta, has to be appropriate to what you're doing. Now I'm going to tone down this side over here. It just looks like it's a bit too much. This one here.
Are you going to add teeth to the mask that Kevin Hoyt asked that?
Oh yes, yeah. I'll be sculpting teeth here shortly. But teeth are very pointy, and water-based clay dries out. So I normally add my teeth last because it those points will dry out faster than anything else. You know, a big lump of clay on the table will dry out much slower than, you know, a spaghetti noodle of clay. Because of surface area and such. Alright, so there's that. See if I calmed him down sufficiently. I think that I did. Looks a lot more natural right there. I'm going to do a little more of that in here to give me some other structures. And I'm not necessarily going with anatomy that I know to be true, but what I am doing is these areas are a little bit devoid of interest, and I don't want that. So I'm making sure that I add pieces on that'll give a good visual interest to this piece, and they won't hurt the believability of it. They won't make it look unnatural.
Is that your puppies?
Yeah, that's my Wendigo out there. She is a Great Pyrenees, and she feels it is her duty to keep the neighborhood free of wolves. Not that we have wolves in Texas. We have some, but not right in my neighborhood. But as her flock is not in dire straits, she's just letting the wolves know she is here.
Gotcha.
It is a Great Pyrenees trait that is rather endearing. Unless you're trying to sleep next door.
Oh.
Alright, this time I'm going to use a sponge to tone these down a bit. First, and then I'll brush them out. The sponge will do a little more work right off the bat. And that just adds some interest to that little under the cheekbone. And it makes the cheekbone feel like it has, it's attached more. You know, there's something holding it down.
Does this automatically upload as soon as you're done?
Yes, it should.
Ah, gotcha.
It should. Like the other Bigfoot one should be up because it ended. It
Yeah.
doesn't know that it ended prematurely, so it's probably already loaded up to YouTube.
Yeah, I was just checking to see if anybody commented on the video or the live on the YouTube. It doesn't look like anybody did. Just
Okay.
questions on there.
Just kind of getting these little muscle structures and fat structures blended in cleanly. So I can do a wrinkle by carving in, which I normally do. And I can reinforce that wrinkle and make it more believable by adding a little ridge on the side. You know, by adding this piece here, that wrinkle becomes a lot deeper and a lot more dramatic than if I didn't add that. So you have to kind of keep a certain amount of dryness to your hands. Right now my hands are too wet. I want to roll this piece of clay along my hand, and it's just sticking to my hands. I had to kind of dry my hands out a bit first. Okay, so now I can blend that piece in there, and that wrinkle is just way more dramatic. All right. And I'm kind of picking out little bits, and I'm putting little details in this. That's where I'm at now. Is I'm just kind of making this make sense. It has to be believable, and like, why is that structure there? You know, that wrinkle can't possibly be that deep, or else it would fall off his face. You know, I'm working on those problems. This is like my first layer of wrinkles because this is really a simple set of wrinkles. You know, these are the ones that add structure to the face. They're the big ones. You get into micro wrinkles, and micro wrinkles are what really define people. They kind of tell age. They show, you know, how often you laugh, and those are good things to add character into this. And I'm going to try and find myself some eye forms real quick. I think I have some right over there, so bear with me. I got to grab some eyeball forms and bring them over.
Tanya's leaving there. I guess she's got some thunderstorms in her area. Hi, Tanya.
You know what? I won't leave. What I'll do is I'll do it another way. In my sculpting toolkit are these measuring spoons.
Oh.
And I use them to make eye forms.
Oh.
You know, you kind of push in, and then when I take it out, I've got a pretty round piece that I can just cut out of this clay. And that is the roundness that I want. That's a little big for a Bigfoot eye, I think. So I put it in there. No matter how much I embed it, it's going to be a little buggy. So I'll go the next one down, which is this size. And I don't mind my Bigfoot being a little bit beady-eyed. Gorillas have really small eyes, I think, for their face. So, all right, there's a good one. And if you use this, see how I kind of already have an eyelid on that? That makes it a little bit easier. And also, I make half an eye. I don't have a whole round ball that I have to hide. Um, Somebody just posted a really awesome looking rat that they made out of paper mache. Really looked great. But my only thing I didn't like about it was they used a whole ball for the eye, and they had to build up a lot around that ball. And if they just cut that ball in half, you wouldn't have that much to work to do. You know, by using that half, it's a lot easier than if I used a whole one.
It'll save you money too.
Well, yeah. And Christmas time right now, I go to Hobby Lobby or any place that sells plastic Christmas balls or ornaments, and I buy those up. And those are my eye forms kind of throughout the year because they're cheap, they're round, they're plastic, and that makes me pretty happy. I just used the wrong one. See how one eye is much smaller than the other? Let's get that out of there. And if I were going for comedy, I could probably get away with that. But since I'm not, and I take my Bigfoot seriously. Okay. Da, 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 da. There we go. All right. Now I got to clean these up a little bit by cutting the back nice and flat. And I can slide this guy in here. I can just cut that cheek away, pull it out to the side, pop my eye in, and then I can push it in right around it.
Oh.
Definitely want this guy a little bit deeper in there. That a little cut out. And up top. This eye is not as well formed as the other already, so I can slide him in from the side. Okay. But now I've got to pack in around these guys so they make sense. Yeah, and I'm kind of to the part now, it's a little bit boring because it's little details that are hard to see on these cameras. But these little details, they make up a lot of the picture in your brain of what this guy looks like. And if the trick is to do just enough detail to where your brain fills in the rest. If I do too much detail, it'll get lost, it'll be hard to paint. But if I do just the right amount, your eye will fill in the detail that's supposed to be there. And I do want these eyes to be a little bit squinty because, you know, he's roaring, so the eyes kind of come in. And my brow ridge is nice and down. So I'm not worried about that, but I am worried about the eyelid. I don't want to look sleepy, you know. I don't want to look like he got stoned. I want him to look like he's got a good squint going on. And there's a good fat deposit that I can do in the, like, see this part of the eye that covers my eyelid under my eyebrow. It's not my eyelid. It's this bit right here, fatty bit.
So he has a question.
Yes.
I know you like your haunted houses to tell a story. Do you like your masks to have a story to tell too? Good question.
Absolutely. You put scars in them. You put little things in them that you know, they tell that story, and they help make your character a character. You know, monsters are great. Characters are better. You know, monster characters are the best. Frankenstein wasn't cool because he had a flat head. He was cool because he was such a tragic, and you know, there was such sympathy in him because of course he was a monster. What else was he going to be? The way that he was created and made, and you know, the things that I make, I want them to be able to tell their story. Like this Bigfoot, he's going to get some scars because I don't think that you get to be an older Bigfoot or a big Bigfoot and not have some scars from some Bigfoot fighting that you had to do. Maybe it was with a bear, you know, and we might tell the story that he had to fight a bear for food one winter, you know, and that's where those scars came from. We might have to tell the story that he fell out of a tree or something because he was hiding. But these are all options for stories for us to let our character tell. We're going to tell the stories that will leave a physical mark. I'm going to actually give him a little bit of age right now by doing some crow's feet right in here, off the corner of the eye. I kind of carry out. They're right in here, and those add a little bit of age to whatever critter it is. And I'll reinforce them a little. One of those. Make that wrinkle a little bigger. One more time here. All right, and now it's brush and water again in order to smooth out everything I've done up in here. But I did some lines on this side with my tool, with my wooden sculpting tool. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Blend in these a little bit. A little better. Blend it in, give a nice lower eyelid. This is kind of the area of focus on the face. Most of my wrinkles are there. Most of my detail is there. I'll add some more lines down here and stuff. But this area of the head right here is the big deal because, you know, this creature, this big open mouth is going to be, you know, coming at you. And the eyes have to sell it. They have to tell that story. They have to say, wow, okay, this creature is pissed. So I can't have those big, I don't want him looking surprised, you know. If his eyebrows were up, you know, like, oh my gosh, I'm a surprised Bigfoot. You know, that makes all the difference in the world. You don't want them surprised. Things that are surprised are not pissed off. They're scared. And Bigfoot has to be a little bit pissed off in this instance. All right, brush in some water. And I am brushing out those wrinkles, making them seem a little more normal. While I'm brushing out these wrinkles, this kind of requires no thought at all. I am thinking about the mouth. I am looking at how this top lip is laid out. And the top lip just kind of ends and it goes in. So I'm going to have to square this off a little bit just with a popsicle stick. Because I've got a bit of a roundness going on that lip, and I don't want that roundness there. The bottom lip has roundness and fullness to it. This lip should kind of be flat. It should just, you know, the mouth just kind of falls in from it. You don't want to puff out to that very much. There we go. See, I've got a rounder bottom lip, and that top lip is just not as round. And this side's blended pretty well because I could see it good. This side is not. And some of the little lines that you do, you end up brushing them away. But the fact that they were there in the first place, you know, it helps get your character down. I think this brow ridge is too thick. I need to soften it a little bit. I know it's a Bigfoot, but he is a little too hardcore as far as his Cro-Magnon brow. He's not quite helping me out with not being cartoony. So I need to tone this down a little. You know what? I'll use a bigger wire loop tool and tone it down a lot. And, a lot of sculpting is putting on too much, and then you take it away. And I certainly did put on too much when I did this brow. It'll just look a lot more believable if I can pull off a good bit of this. It'll still look Cro-Magnon and lost from time. It'll still look tough, but I'll lessen the cartooniness of it. And now this tool is a little too big, so I have to go to a smaller tool to re-round this brow ridge that I've made flat. And my first Bigfoot mask I ever did, I remember it. I don't think I have a single picture of it, but it was pretty terrible. You know, no detail, pretty much just the facial forms are there. And I didn't, you know, there wasn't enough hair to hide that, so it was a little rough. But we get better. I'm certainly a better sculptor than I was then. So it's nice to be able to revisit a project and do it 20 years later. Because this version will be a little better. This is an Alan Hobson a little more on his game. He knows a little more of what's going on in the world. He has learned a little more anatomy. All right, so now I'm calming that down again. So see, that's just a lot more believable. It's not as cartoony as it was, in my mind, at least. And I did a couple more brow lines to bring that down a little bit. Comb those right down. And now I'm going to do something a little crazy. I'm going to cut into this brow ridge with a bigger tool to break up what it does here. Just in a few spots for it. You know, it doesn't have to be that one big continuous. You know, maybe one of these is a scar. Maybe one of them, you know, it's just how the muscles work. But that makes it a little more believable, I think. I'll do that right there. Give that one a Y almost. Clean out. I can still go right across them to tone them down and through them to soften them. Over all this, the lines in the face, the wrinkles in the face have a direction. And I need to follow those direction lines in order for you guys to believe what I'm doing. Those same breakups that you have in that brow ridge, I'm putting a few of those in the upper lip. Where's that dripping water noise coming from?
That's me. I'm sorry.
What are you doing?
My phone sent me a Google call, and I'm looking at it going, wait, it's this. How is this calling my phone?
I bet that's my fault because I really am bad with technology.
Well, sometimes it does that. It did that one time with a call that happened 3 weeks before.
Well, if I was involved, it was probably still my fault.
No,
Okay.
you're safe.
All right, so now I need to get more right in here. I'm very happy with up here and this. I'm very happy with the brow area. So I'll now focus on around the jaw in here and do a couple more structures in there to get it, it's roaring and you need a little more stuff going on. And I think this is a worm technique here, just making these worms because the worms make a fat deposit on one side and 2 wrinkles on either side when you smooth them out. So you're getting a lot of mileage for a little bit of work with this. And I'm using another thing, and there's little deposits right here on each side of the lip, and I'm going to really reinforce those by putting a big old piece right here. This is my Wendigo right here.
Oh,
She is coming in to say hi. And there is Spitzy, her constant companion.
David just asked if you were adding this to this season's Terra del Monstrum show.
No, Bigfoot does not have a black and white movie that would easily tie in. So this will be, I'll use it for my Monster Museum. It's also going to a friend in North Carolina, I believe. And I had made another Bigfoot mask because I did a gorilla sculpt a while back, and you can find that, I think, on my YouTube channel maybe. But I did a gorilla sculpt, and I had turned that into a Bigfoot. I just wasn't as happy with it, so I took a little bit extra time in order to knock this one out. Because unlike me, who opened already, my haunt's open and running, and I've already had my 3rd weekend. Home haunts have that great window of time, but everybody thinks that when you're a Halloween guy that, oh, you must be getting ready to get busy. No, I was busy in August. I was steady in September. Now I'm kind of coasting. I don't have to do a lot of the stuff that I do right now, but I like to add to Terra del Monstrum and Dark Hour pretty much every week because we have some fans who come out, and they might come out twice a season. I want them to see different things if they're paying attention. So we make sure that we do different stuff. We have one heck of a staff, so we are able to do cool stuff. So why not do it during the week? My time is 9:36. I have about 20 minutes or so. I feel I'm on target for that, but that does mean I got to start working on my teeth, because you guys won't count this as being done until you see teeth in it. And I cannot blame you, for I feel the same way. All right, a couple more wrinkles up there on the cheekbone. And let's start on teeth. Remember that sculpting tool here? This is actually a smaller version of this guy. And this guy is who I'll use for some of the teeth, and I'll switch to the other one. I'm going to just take right in this lip. I'm going to figure out where the center line is. I'll sketch in a quick center line. And then I'm going to take out some big old chunks here. I'm taking out the chunks so that I can root in teeth. If I just sculpted a tooth and stuck it there, it wouldn't survive the molding process. While I'm painting plaster onto it, it would fall apart. It would come out, and then I would not have a good mold of my work. And my teeth are not going to look good at first because I'm not going to have any gums on them. It'll just be teeth that kind of stick out. But as soon as I get gums on there, and I will sculpt them separately, they'll make a lot more sense. And too pointy, and everything looks like a shark. You know, you got to be careful of your teeth. I don't want teeth that are too pointy. But I also don't want teeth that are dull. It has to have some kind of a... Predators are judged by their mouth. You know, look at Alien. One of the reasons it was scary, it had that double mouth that came out. One of the reasons I think that snakes scare people is that they have this great mouth that opens much wider than it should. Spiders have little hands that are just for their mouth, with little fangs that move independently. That's one of the reasons I think spiders are scarier than most critters. So, you know, a good monster is judged by its mouth. You got to have efficient and scary teeth. Wolfman is my favorite monster in the world, and I tend to do monsters that have more of an underbite than that have an overbite. So I don't lean towards vampires, I lean towards werewolves, and kind of the Hollywood classic werewolf has an underbite. So most of my critters, and this Bigfoot included, is going to have just a bit of an underbite to him. And you don't want the Tom Cruise thing where there's one tooth in the center. I'm working hard to make sure that my teeth are even and that the teeth are making sense anatomically. I do have, you know, two kind of canines right there, but you can see where I'm going with the teeth. And I'll go here. And you know, they can't all be fangs. You know, sometimes all fangs are good, but I'm trying to do sort of a believable creature here, so I need a mix of both fangs and molars and bicuspids. I need them to have a purpose and make sense. Now, upper teeth are normally a little bit harder to do because they're going to have a little more gum showing. And I am going to mess with this upper lip even more. I'm just going to take out a whole bunch of inside of this lip. And that gives me a pocket to shove those teeth up into. And this kind of detail work now, I want to have a nice clean area right in front of me because I got to set my clay down. And if I have little dry blobs of clay sitting here, then it's going to get picked up in the teeth, and that tooth will have just a little chunk of crap on it. And if I take it away, I'm going to scratch that clay. So I want to make sure I don't have that. All right, so for my top teeth, I'm taking one piece of clay, trying to make it an even, you know, double-headed arrow shape kind of, and that one didn't work, so I'm starting over.
Kate says scary monsters don't have plaque.
But they will have plaque, but you paint on your plaque.
Mm.
You paint on your plaque. Now that I've got this shape, I am footballing it so it's nice and pointy. That'll be the points of my teeth. And I want to do both of my canines at once. And that's what this shape is. It's both of the canine teeth of Bigfoot. And I'm using, when I cut it in half, I now have my two canines. Give them a pinch so that they fit into this groove. And that just looked ridiculous. So I've got to cut them down. That's better. If I put too much teeth in there, it doesn't look like he's roaring. It looks like his mouth is just open, and he can't ever close it. Okay. Let's go there. And now I'm just kind of making teeth. Take good sized wad, pinch it in half, and now I can just kind of form them into teardrops because these front two teeth are not sharp at all. And if I just pinch them, they have that nice flat front edge that is a cutting tooth. You know, they look a little more cutty. And then I'll fill in the rest of these guys here with teeth. And I don't have to show all the teeth. The lips hide some teeth. You have teeth all the way back here on your jawbone that you don't ever see them. You know, you see them when you're brushing your teeth, but that's it. So I don't have to sculpt them. If you force too many teeth here or into a drawing, or you know, then you hurt your believability. Because people know they don't see those teeth. Like, why are their teeth all the way out there? I'm just carving out little pockets to make sure that I have room to set these. I'm going to set them pretty far back because you won't see all of them. And I'm looking at my mask now, figuring out where would I cut for vision. Where would I cut out when it's a mask in order to breathe and to see? And I've kind of figured out I'm going to cut out all this inside of the mouth that isn't teeth. I'll cut all that out, put some black fabric back there.
Mm.
So now I've got my teeth in, and I've got to do some gums. And the way I do gums, very, very simple. Make this noodle. Start it on one side, take it all the way around, and then I push it down into place with a popsicle stick, and that end of the popsicle stick, because that is tooth-shaped. Now I can shape these gums in order to get a more realistic mouth. And my bottom lip, it was great when it was balanced by this big brow. It was a little bit much now. So I'm going to tone down this bottom lip. And I can tone down the bottom lip by building up directly under it also, which is something that I will do. See, if I put this here, that bottom lip doesn't stick out as much. And the lip has creases going this way, so I rounded it by moving it across this way, but those wrinkles that it left were not very bottom lip-like. So I had to go up and down now to put in bottom lip-like wrinkles. And there's going to be a beard hanging off of this sucker. It'll look pretty cool once it's all finished out. In the teeth themselves, I am going to... You'll see me now switch to a lot of metal tools because I'm working on something that is hard and flat. When I'm doing the face, I use a lot of wooden tools, and because that's organic and that is soft and round, and that's really what I'm going for. So now that I'm switching to something that is hard and almost metallic, teeth are, I want to make sure that I use a metal tool that will give me those harder, flatter surfaces. And I have some epoxy on this sculpting tool, so I'm just cleaning that off right now.
You have some comments on the YouTube page. Let's see. Shill Parsons finally managed to figure out this end of it. Anywho, in the event you were wondering, yes, I've been watching you live here on YouTube for a bit now, and as always, great work, sir.
Well, thank you.
And then we have Special Effects 101, thinking about starting a haunt. Any tips?
Make sure that you have enough money to not need to start a haunt. Haunts are very rarely successful I'm not going to rain anybody's parade or crush your hopes and dreams, but don't start a haunt because you need money to live. Start a haunt because you love haunting, and know that you're going to pay to play for a while before it gets profitable. And number one tip, don't borrow money. Don't borrow money to start a pro haunted attraction. I would rather you build a fairly crappy small haunted house for $10,000 and you make that money back your first year and you're not out anything, rather than borrowing $200,000 from credit cards or from friends, family. You probably won't get a loan from a bank for a haunted house, but if you do, if you're out $200,000, you're not going to make any money at it for years. So you really need to watch your spending.
He also asks, what is this sculpt for?
This is a Bigfoot, and it's going to be incorporated into a scare in a haunted house in South Carolina.
Okay, and then Zach Zoto TV says, love your work, man. Keep it up. And also hi.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. V. Satan V, can I use a foam head to sculpt over?
Not a mask, because foam heads are nowhere near human head shaped and sized. Foam heads are really small. They're often aliens. They look like aliens. Often you can find a male mannequin head, and a male mannequin head is a foam head. A male foam head is a little closer, but they're still on the small side. If you measure around the brow and around the forehead, and then from top of crown of head under the chin, they're just nowhere near human proportions. So to make a mask, you have to build up so much on them that it's just not even worth it. You might as well build up on a wad of tinfoil. So.
Then Nikki Hendricks says, hi, Alan. You are awesome. Videos are great.
Thank you.
And Nico Lugosi says, would you like another actor this Saturday?
I believe that I would, if Nico is who I think Nico is. Yes, I would. I believe that we are Facebook friends. Shoot me your info, or if you apply at darkhourhauntedhouse.com, do the online application just like anybody else would. But what I'll do is I'll rush that in front of the casting director in order to make sure that you get bumped on the top of my pile. He is a man of many talents who I have not worked with in a while. I would like to see him again. That's for anybody out there in the land. darkhourhauntedhouse.com. And there's an employment section. I am not ever really desperate for actors, but I always want the best. So if you are the best, by all means, come at me. All right. All right, what I'm doing now is I'm working on the gums a little bit to get them a little nicer. I added into the teeth some ridges, just because when I paint them, they're going to hold paint back a little better. I have about 6 minutes left, and I actually feel pretty good about this sculpt. I am taking a brush now, a dry, clean brush, really dry. It's got old clay on it. I'm going to get that old clay off of it. And I'm just going to brush this guy down and put in a stabby texture, and this stabby texture will help give a bit of a skin texture to this. And also to calm down some of my lines and wrinkles. And you can only go so much before your brush gets gummed up. So I'll have to switch. And then I'll do just some scratchy lines in it. And all of those scratchy lines that I put in, I'll brush them down again. Put in more and more skin texture. Don't want to forget my ears with my skin texture. My battery is about to die, but I'm 5 minutes away. I think that I can do it. So, the tool I'm going to put in my extra tiny wrinkles with is another popsicle stick that I've cut really sharp. That's probably a little bit too sharp. I'm going to switch to this one, which is not quite as sharp. And this is just finer wrinkles, smaller. They're not changing the face of the shape of the face at all. They're just adding wrinkle texture, wrinkle texture, wrinkle texture. And then I'll put all these little lines in, and then with a big brush like this, brush it out in order to have another layer of detail. I am going to grab my charger real quick so I don't lose you. Hey, Christy.
Yes?
Tell people about your show and what you're building right now. Why? Get right back.
Okay. It's not much of a show. We're doing a home haunt, so I'm a little bit different than Alan's pro haunt. And you go to SK Austin or the Haunting Grounds on Facebook, you can see what he's been working on. He's been working on a big facade, and kind of interesting. Definitely a different take. And pretty much we kind of combined forces. I came from Arizona up to upstate New York to live with my boyfriend, who is SK Austin, from the Haunting Grounds. And I brought some of my props with me to combine with his props, and then we're also going to be making props. And it's a slow-going process, but I am very impressed with the, I don't know if it's considered a mausoleum facade. It's ginormous.
Okay, here I am. Back. So, this really is the last stage that I'm doing right now, is adding all these little wrinkles and then brushing them out. Which seems kind of like, well, if you're going to make them go away, I'm not making them all go away, they're kind of going away. That's a good sharpness right there for these wrinkles. Just little lines I'm picking in, and they're going to cross. And every now and then one's going to go completely the wrong way. And that's okay. That's going to help show age and what this guy does. You know, our wrinkles follow guidelines, but not a rule book.
Jaywall's watching.
Awesome. Very good. He'll probably see me mold this because he gets here Thursday. He doesn't know it, but I'm going to put him to work quite a bit when he is here.
He does now.
I guess he does now, yeah. Um, we're actually putting in a small haunted house at the House of Blues in Dallas, and he'll probably go with me to help install that. We're getting it all built this week, and then it goes in, and it'll be at the House of Blues for a couple weeks, kind of a free mini walkthrough thing, so that they have something cool at their restaurant, and we have, another off-site marketing venue. But we're going to make some really cool stuff for it.
Nice advertising campaign.
It could be, yeah. We'll see how that goes. I have no idea. I'm not a marketer. That's not my thing. I never say that I am. My marketing is just do as good a show as you can, and then people will show up for it. Can you see how this up here now is getting to be a lot more detailed just by doing all these little lines? Every now and then I'll run one that just goes the wrong way, just to break it up. And you need a lot of brushes because they gum up so fast. But once I get all those lines in, I just brush them again in order to calm them down. And I probably would have made my 2 hours if not for that glitch where I had to stop and redo it all. So we are getting to have us Bigfoots. And under the eyes, I always like to do a nice bit of back and forth here, like eye bags. Halloween season, I got bags under my eyes. All my monsters should too.
SK just got home.
Who sleeps? Nobody.
No time.
Yes, we got stuff to do. So, anybody out there building something huge right now? What was that?
That was a sarcastic laugh.
Are you guys building something huge?
Yeah.
What you doing?
Is it a mausoleum, honey, or what is it supposed to be?
It's a facade. It's fake. It's a facade. It's an entryway for next year's walkthrough.
Okay, gotcha. Neat. I love entryways.
If I can bring up... Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, I think that having guests go through archways and go through entrances, I think that there's something important about archways and entrances and portals, and it really helps them. I'm entering something. This is, I should start paying attention to my surroundings. I really think that is something that you should do to your guests, is put them through a lot of portals and archways and just, it affects the psyche. I'm entering a thing. I really like that.
I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of it. I don't know where I hid it.
I think I've seen some on Facebook, actually, from you. Okay. Now, I'm going to do more wrinkles down in here. You shouldn't have the same texture over the whole thing. This guy's going to have so much hair, and I'm going to paint him with dry brush techniques to really pop out all these wrinkles in detail, because he's not going to be seen very much. So, but I do want to put in more wrinkles on him. And ordinarily, I would say don't put wrinkles down here. All I did was wrinkles up top. But this time, wrinkle it up, because most of his structure is going to be hair. I do have to kind of follow my wrinkle patterns of a face, which are down the jawline. And so I'm kind of making these sketchy wrinkles here down the jawline. The chin you kind of round out, so I can have to do, you know, all kinds of different directions right here around the chin. But now I can wet up my black sponge.
So,
Wet up the black sponge, tone all these down, and adding fine wrinkles with it also at the same time. And now I'm just going to stab the heck out of it with a brush for texture. And this is kind of, I'm doing pores right now. This is skin pores. This is just, you know, areas on the skin that have a lot of texture and bumps, and that's what this brush is doing. I'm going to take just a little bit of clay and in just a few places put on some blemishes. They're not really moles. They're just different areas of texture on him. And they'll probably get covered up by hair, but if they don't, here they are. It's an excuse to have something different, a little bit of visual interest. Otherwise, I'm going to have this giant field that's all wrinkles and hair, and I want to be able to have something else there. You know, maybe there's a sty under his eye. I'll do 2 or 3 of them right here by this eye.
oh, let's see. Kevin said, just finished making a pirate shipwreck room with uneven floors and spots for 2 undead pirates for
Nice.
the fun I volunteer at.
Nice. Awesome. Pirate ship, huh? That's awesome. Yeah, I did a pirate haunt at a show I worked at in Screams, which is in Waxahachie, Texas. Very good show. One of the best haunted house deals in possibly the country. They've got 5 different attractions of decent quality, and but you know, you pay $25 to get in. You're there all night. They've got beer and food and a great atmosphere. So that's a great show. And I think they still have the pirate haunted house that I did my first year when I was with them.
Yes, they do.
It's a good show. Lots of secret doors, lots of good actor pop outs. And we did some fun psychological stuff in there where as you go in, all the walls are painted. It's a 3D house. But as you walk in, there's waves at ankle level. And as you walk through the show, where those waves are on the walls go higher and higher and higher. So slowly you're kind of going underwater. And I think that's a fun element to it. So if I did 2 or 3 of these, they would read as moles. But I'm putting a lot of them on here, and so now they're just going to read as a this is some kind of a different skin texture that this particular Bigfoot has. You guys see these little dots like that?
Oh, yeah.
I get several up here on the brow.
Oh, good.
And there. Okay. I don't know if my light here will reach. This is my work lights.
Good texture. Ooh. Yeah. It's in the refrigerator.
All right, so that's a Bigfoot, guys. I'm not doing much more to this because almost all of this is hair. It's got a lot of fur on it, a lot of hair. So this sculpt I am calling done. I'll give you guys one more close look here at him.
Awesome.
Now you can see the profile. So thanks for watching Bigfoots, and that's it. So I sculpted him. I'll cover him in plastic now, and I'll probably mold him sometime tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thanks, Alan.
Have a good night.
Night.
So,
And